Folks, there is one specific stock that members of Congress keep buying en masse. No one seems to be talking about it, yet member after member is scooping this up. What is that stock? Well, in today's video, we're going to break down some of the major recent trades politicians just disclosed. And then we're going to go on to the main entree, which is the one specific stock that stands out the most. One that I think they're buying in preparation for something big. Of course, a lot of work goes into making a video like this. There's a lot of disclosures that we got to go through, a lot of back and forth research. And if you appreciate all this work, the only thing I ask in return is that you hit that like button and also subscribe, because it tells YouTube to push this video out to more folks every time you do those things. And as always, if you are the one taking the ultimate risk, you got to be the one doing the ultimate frisk. Always do your own due diligence on all ideas presented. Okay, so to start, context. So right now we're in a very, very lucrative market environment for whales, and especially those who are connected to government. Connected people have always had an edge, yes, but these days stocks rise and fall based largely on the actions and trade deals coming out of the White House. So your proximity to the president, your proximity to trade negotiations, and your proximity to the overall discussion can greatly impact your portfolio. For example, if you're a politician right now who is buying a company that you hear is likely to get a trade exemption for whatever reason, and you're able to trade off that before it becomes public knowledge, well, guess what? That's a huge edge. You can buy the dip as everyone thinks that company is going to be destroyed by tariffs, and then when they get the exemption the next day, oof, you got that rip. We're just a couple months into this tariff season, and there's already been so much volatility on a stock by stock basis, as well as, of course, an overall market basis. Ones that created huge opportunities for folks with insider knowledge to get rich. Filthy rich. And that's in addition to the usual advantage that Congress has had forever, which is knowing which companies are going to get government contracts and then being able to buy the dip on those stocks before those companies get those contracts. Many members who are sitting in closed door congressional meetings and deciding on these contracts, or at least hearing about these contracts, get a huge opportunity to scoop up shares in these companies ahead of time. Look, who knows, maybe they're just really good at reading the charts. But all I can see is that when it comes to Congress, they make the rules, they get the info, they decide on the contracts, they place the trades, and then when asked, they say, oh, it's just luck, or oh, my husband / wife / neighbor / dog made those trades for me. I did a lot of research, and in my opinion, this is who has made lots of Nancy Pelosi's top trades. Fido. So anyways, let's start with UNH here. So United Healthcare has had a rough time, falling off an absolute cliff. Obviously, horrible headlines for the last year. Their former CEO got offed. A replacement CEO just stepped down. They've had regulatory and public scrutiny of business practices, rising medical costs, folks getting procedures done that they delayed during COVID, and financial uncertainty overall have really hurt their bottom line. Yet, interestingly enough, ZipTrader Plus is reporting many members of Congress are buying the dip. Look, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene bought. Senator Boozman bought. Rep. McCall bought, Rep. Brosnahan bought, Rep. Shreve, Rep. McGuire, all bought. So lots and lots of Congress folks buying the dip. And our data shows UNH is actually already one of their top holdings in Congress. And it's not just Congress. In fact, ZipTrader Plus caught some peculiar whale activity. It shows that on May 13th, an unknown trader made a massive $25 million put bet, which is about 10,000 contracts, $300 strike prices expiring September 19th of this year. And the following happens. Look at the timetable here. The following happened. So again, they took this out on May 13th. And on May 13th, 2025, CEO Andrew Witte abruptly resigns, and UNH suspends its 2025 financial outlook, triggering a massive 18% one-day drop. Oof, beautiful printing there for that put option. May 15th, DOJ announces a criminal investigation into UNH's Medicare practices, causing an additional 13% plunge to 5-year lows. So again, whoever took out that $25 million bet, oof. Am I saying that it's an insider in one of the regulatory bodies, or perhaps even somebody that's very connected to a politician? I'm not saying that. Who knows? Maybe it's just somebody that, again, read the chart pattern, but interesting whale activity. But now we're starting to see a reversion. You're actually starting to see a lot of whales start buying up the stock. ZipTrader Plus data shows institutions poured over $8 million into long-dated call options with 2027 expirations, betting UNH will rebound strongly long term. And when you're betting $8 million on long-dated call options, well, that has the exposure of potentially 50 to hundreds of millions of dollars. We're also seeing significant near-term bullish activity, a hefty sweep of January 2026 calls at the 260 strike price, suggesting traders expect a rapid bounce within months. We're also seeing massive insider and institutional purchases. Returning CEO Stephen Hemsley aggressively bought 86,700 shares for a whopping $25 million, one of the largest insider purchases in UNH's history. Director Kristen Gill purchased $1 million worth of shares during the crash. You have some other notable insider buys buying about $500,000 and $93,000. This coordinated insider activity alongside Congress buying the dip suggests to me that regulatory trends are actually going to be in UNH's favor long term. By the way, if you want access to this kind of data alongside our alerts and all of our reports, well, I'll put the link to ZipTrader Plus down below. It's $29 a month and you get a ton of features that are going to completely be game changers for you if you join us. Make sure to give it a look. But anyways, why would they be buying UNH? What's going on here? Well, one of the primary reasons whales and congressional investors could be flocking to UNH right now is the stock's unusually and statistically significant attractive valuation. UNH is currently trading at a forward price to earnings ratio that is in the dirt. And historically, this stock has rarely traded so cheaply outside of brief anomalies like the COVID-related plunge of 2020. Typically, UNH commands a much higher valuation due to its robust profitability and steady growth. I think it's pretty clear that these depressed multiples are rare opportunities to buy a premium business at a discount. While leadership changes initially spooked investors, some whales and politicians might view the return of former CEO Stephen Hemsley positively. Hemsley has successfully led the company through growth periods before and could leverage his experience to steer UNH through current turbulence effectively. Now, in terms of Congress, though, I think members of Congress sometimes have a pretty big strategic edge in understanding policy developments, particularly related to Medicare, healthcare legislation, and regulatory scrutiny. So this insider understanding could be leading them to perceive that the current DOJ investigation risks are very, very manageable and very, very overstated. If congressional buyers are acquiring UNH, it may reflect their belief based on policy or regulatory insights that the DOJ inquiry or similar issues are unlikely to pose existential threats to UNH's long-term business model. Now, another buy that we're seeing from Marjorie Taylor Greene. She's quickly becoming a rising star, but she bought PI stock, which is Impinj Inc., at almost the exact perfect moment. You see, Impinj Inc. is an American manufacturer of radio frequency identification devices and software. And of course, you guessed it, they are a government contractor. And guess where she bought? Right here, right before a big 60% plus rally. Nice timing. Why might she have taken an interest in the stock? Well, Greene's investment could be tied to anticipated legislative or regulatory developments discussed in private congressional briefings. Impinj's focus on RFID and IoT technologies makes it highly relevant to sectors like defense, logistics, and national infrastructure, areas frequently influenced by federal policies or appropriations. Greene, given her position and committee memberships, may have gained insights during confidential sessions or briefings about upcoming federal investments or incentives aimed at bolstering American technology companies in critical infrastructure fields, motivating her to take a position in a company poised to benefit significantly. Secondly, it is plausible that Greene's connections within Congress have alerted her to bipartisan interest in boosting domestic tech manufacturing and supply chain transparency. She might have the details on that, especially in light of growing tensions around global technology reliance. Closed-door conversations often revolve around securing national technology infrastructure against geopolitical risks, possibly leading to federal support for companies like Impinj. Such internal discussions, typically preceding public announcements or legislation, might have prompted her investment decision, anticipating the market reaction once these policies become public knowledge. Her purchase might also reflect broader congressional chatter about advancing RFID technology and specific mandates in key sectors that could benefit this stock a lot. So anyways, definitely one to watch. Unfortunately, it has already run a lot and she disclosed this a little bit too late. Okay, now it's time for the main entree. What is one specific stock that I think stands out a lot? Well, that is TTD, the trade desk. I actually like this stock not just because I see Congress buying it, but also because it's just one that I believe has a lot of long-term upside. Our data shows that this has been a very, very frequent and heavy buy from Congress, and we'll break that down later. But what exactly is this company and what do they do, Charlito? Well, the Trade Desk is a technology company that powers digital advertising. To put it simply, I mean, the Trade Desk helps advertisers buy digital ads across the internet in a smarter and more targeted way. They're not a website or a social media platform. Instead, they offer a software platform called a demand-side platform that lets ad buyers, brands, agencies, marketers purchase ad space across thousands of websites, apps, streaming platforms, and even smart TVs. So here's an analogy for you. Think of the Trade Desk like a super smart stock trading platform, but instead of buying stocks, you're buying digital ad space. Their platform helps you pick which ads to buy, set budgets and goals, decide who to show your ad to, and measure what worked and what didn't. They make all of this happen in real time within milliseconds using tons and tons of data. Where do the ads run? Well, the Trade Desk lets advertisers place ads on places like streaming TV, Hulu, Peacock, so on and so forth, websites and apps, news sites, games, shopping apps, audio platforms like Spotify, mobile devices, connected TVs. So if you saw an ad pop up on your smart TV or a banner ad on a website, there's a good chance that ad was bought using the Trade Desk's platform. So why is TTD valuable? Why is what they're doing valuable? Well, for starters, the cookieless future. I know what you're thinking, Charlie, I love myself some cookies. But folks, we are heading into a cookieless future, which is a big problem for advertisers. TTD has a very strong position as advertisers move away from third-party cookies. I'm not talking about chocolate chip, I'm talking about the tracking cookies, right? But they created something called UID2 to track users anonymously and what they say is ethically. Number two, there's also a connected TV boom. As people move from cable to streaming, brands need new ways to advertise on TV, and TTD is dominating that niche. There's also data-driven ads. TTD uses AI and vast data sets to help advertisers only spend on what works. And then number four, it's an independent alternative. Unlike Google or Meta, TTD doesn't own content. That makes them more trusted as a neutral platform for ad buy-in. So how exactly do they make money? Well, the Trade Desk charges a percentage of ad spend that goes through its platform. So when a brand spends $1 million through the Trade Desk, while TTD earns a nice cut, typically around 20%. So they can make $200,000 off just that $1 million ad budget. And that's still going to be cheaper and probably more effective than going to an agency or something along those lines. You look at the success they've had with that model, I mean, pretty consistent and stable and really bombastic growth. The bottom line, while the Trade Desk is a behind-the-scenes advertising powerhouse, it helps brands buy smarter ads across the internet, especially in the fast-growing world of streaming and programmatic advertising, and it's becoming a critical player as the digital ad world shifts away from cookies and toward data privacy. So who in Congress is buying? Well, ZipTrader Plus reports that Rep. Byron Donalds made two substantial buys totaling up to $30K. Rep. Bresnahan Jr. and Rep. James Comer made two big buys. Rep. Tony Weed bought $15 to $50K worth on April 4th at $46.24 a share. And in separate orders, Reps James Comer and Rep Jefferson Shreve have been trading it back and forth as well. And if you look at the overall trend, I mean, there's been a lot of disclosed holdings. And if you look at some major buys that ZipTrader Plus is reporting, well, we saw significantly increased holdings from Brown Advisory Inc. They increased their position by 198.4%. Edgewood Management LLC increased their position by 55.1%. And Intech Investment Management LLC added 237,000 shares to its portfolio. So a lot of whales and a lot of folks in Congress like it. So anyways, bigger picture here. TTD is likely getting a lot of buys primarily because of its robust positioning in the rapidly expanding digital advertising market, particularly in connected TV and retail media. As more viewers shift from traditional cable to streaming platforms, TTD is ideally positioned to capitalize on this trend, evidenced by substantial growth in partnerships with major players like Disney, Netflix, and Roku. Moreover, their advanced data-driven advertising technology gives advertisers precise targeting capabilities, enabling superior return on investment compared to traditional models. With digital ad spending projected to continuously increase, while TTD's future revenue growth trajectory looks pretty strong. Now, how does this connect to Congress? Well, members of Congress investing in TTD might be privy to upcoming regulatory or legislative developments aimed at bolstering digital infrastructure, consumer privacy, or competitiveness against global tech giants. Closed-door meetings often involve discussions about tech regulations and industry frameworks, especially regarding data privacy or transparency in digital advertising practices. When it comes to why Congress might be buying this, I think it has all to do with data privacy. TTD is one of the biggest players that are going to benefit from the overall cookie banning and increased regulatory scrutiny on overall privacy. I think these Congress folks are buying this because they're looking at the regulatory framework and the regulatory trends, and they're thinking, okay, well, data privacy is going to go through the roof. And what that means is that a lot of advertising companies that rely on advertising in a more traditional sense, well, they're not going to be able to target anywhere near as well as TTD is going to be able to. You combine that with strong trends across almost every segment, well, it makes sense that people like TTD for the long term. Anyways, that caps off today's video. Let us know your thoughts down below. Make sure to take a look at ZipTrader Plus if you want our real-time alerts, private chat, premium research reports, algo trading reports, whale alerts, so on and so forth, key data sets that you're going to need as a trader and investor in this market. Well, I'll put the link to that down below. And $29 a month will get you everything we offer in that program. That caps off today's video. Have a great rest of your day. We'll see you next time.